Hey folks, it's Wally and Jill, Fox Party of 3. Thanks for joining us today. If this is your first time, we travel full-time in a truck camper, and we're up right now up in Alaska. Today is July 4th, and we are heading across Cook Inlet to Katmai, and we are in a float plane. And Jill doesn't fly that often, and she's never flown in a float plane. So here we are up in the air, heading over. The view wasn't so great going over, a lot of overcast, but once we get closer to our destination, the pilot gets a little lower, you start seeing these grand views. The color was just spectacular. Really dark greens, the cliffs, the turquoise water, just unbelievable views. And as we're flying in, we start looking for bears. So that was the mission today. We were on Bald Mountain Air, and our guide Rick was also our pilot. So we're approaching the destination. He's going to land in a river, and we're going to just start hiking up from there. So right now he's making his descent, and we're coming down into the river, and he's starting to look for bears already. We've seen about 7 or 8 bears as we're going in. So our anticipation was building for this landing and this trip. Once he lands, he actually jumps out of the plane, anchors up the plane. He's got us all in waders. There's 9 people in our party, me, Jill, and really just some other strangers along for the ride. Once we land, Rick's got the plane secure. We're then hike in. Here's Rick leading us in. First, it's kind of a flat, marshy area, and then we start heading into the tall grass and weeds. And this is about knee height, and we're heading up to a little bit of a bluff and an overlook on this meadow. And in this meadow, we start catching our first glimpse of a brown bear, and here and there and off into the distance. Rick has us take a seat on this little edge, and we start viewing, and more bears start coming into the meadow. These bears are feeding on the grass and not on the salmon. A lot of people this time of year are heading to Brooks Falls to look for the bears catching the salmon, but the salmon haven't arrived yet, and so this was the best spot to view. We probably saw at any given time 12 or 13 bears in front of us in this meadow, and with binoculars I could see another 12 or 13 bears across the river. So we would see an occasional eagle. We did have one of these brown bears kind of slip up behind us and got pretty close. One of the people in our party made a mention, hey, there's one about 40-50 feet right behind us coming up. This was quite an interesting bear, had a limp. Rick recognized the bear right away and kind of told us her story. He had been doing this particular trip for 9 years, so he knew a lot of these bears just by recognition. These bears that you're seeing here, some of them started showing a little bit of posturing here and there. And by that, I mean they kind of bow up on each other. They walk bow-legged and squat and try to make themselves look as big as possible to the other bear. This eventually led to an altercation that you'll see coming up, where this one larger bear started chasing and taking on another. These bears get rather large. The diet is so rich on the grass and the salmon that these bears are probably the largest brown bears in existence, and they are something to be seen. This was a once-in-a-lifetime trip for us. We really took it all in. The company advertised, and they delivered. That one bear was definitely posturing. That's a good look at how they bow up. And here he is chasing off the other bear. There was a pretty good altercation between these two. Some of these close-up shots were taken by one of the passengers on the plane. I didn't catch his name, but he had a larger lens than we did, and he shared a few of these photos with us. So we want to give him credit for a few of these close-up action shots. These bears started fighting, and they kind of as quick as the fight started, it pretty much ended. The bears don't want to injure themselves, but they definitely like to try to put their dominance on each other. There was also a couple of females who did the same behavior. An alpha female took on one of the younger females and chased her off. Here we are starting to move around. We did that a couple of times. The flowers and the greenery is just something to behold. It was really, really spectacular to see how bright and how colorful this area was, even on an overcast day. As you can see, we're getting a little bit of rain toward the end of the afternoon. We were probably on the ground 5.5 hours in the meadow, and the flight itself was probably an hour and 15 minutes each way. So it was a long day, but here we are just on this slight 6-foot ridge, making our way back to the plane. And let me tell you, Jill was excited to see the plane was still anchored up in the river and waiting for us. Here we are back in the plane, thinking about our day, and what a day it was. We really enjoyed ourselves flying out. We saw probably another 10 or so bears on the ground. Rick took us close to some of the hillsides and the glacier runoffs, so we could get a view of that as we started to head up into the cloud cover and then back across the bay. We want to thank Bald Mountain Air for this trip. They did exactly what they said it was going to be. We had another couple that we fished with earlier that week while we were in Homer, and they had gone with another company, and they did not see any bears at all. I believe final count for us was 42 total bears for the afternoon. All brown bears, no cubs that we saw that day. These bears were doing everything from feeding on grass to resting to moving back and forth across the river. Just a glorious afternoon of bear watching. With that said, I'll let you just enjoy a few of these moments and these shots as imagine yourself sitting on this bluff with us. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed our video. We sure did enjoy making it for you. And we hope to see you guys down the road. Take care.